Hello once again. People actually asked me a couple of times, like, give us more of Visti, more of Visti. And I said, okay, but we are both very much, into our obligations. But for the beginning of the new year, actually, we thought that maybe we can record a session or two more. So, Visti Ji, thank you once again for your precious time that you're, sharing with us here. And
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
yeah, we actually talked about the idea of speaking a bit more about the various applications and how the Dṛṣṭis actually work. Maybe you can start and we can see further on about maybe particular questions and where it can lead us also. But Dṛṣṭis is the topic right now.
Dṛṣṭi is a huge topic. And when people talk about Dṛṣṭi, they normally equate it to the two topics of simply Rashi Dṛṣṭi and Graha Dṛṣṭi. But the word Dṛṣṭi has a wide meaning. Just the other day, I was listening to a speech about the Upanishads, where the speaker was describing how the word Rishi is derived, has its roots in the word Dṛṣṭi or Drisha, referring to that the Rishis are the one who have seen something, they have experienced something, and their revelations, what they reveal to the public, is that. And that is the concept from which Shruti comes from. Okay? And we have two aspects of knowledge. All knowledge comes down to two. What is either Shruti or Smriti? Shruti is that which is spoken, revealed. All right? So that is what is taken as truth. It has been revealed. All right? And Smriti is the recollection of that. And Shruti is considered higher because that is what was originally there, What was originally there, and then after some time, somebody summarizes it. And then, wait, the summarizing is not what was revealed. It is the summary of what was revealed. It's not the same thing. So Shruti is always considered higher. And in Jyotish, we also have that we are interested in, okay, what was the Shruti behind that particular principle? And then Smriti actually ends up becoming in one way or the other principle. And many times in public, we don't actually deal with Shruti at all. When I speak the principles in Jyotish, I don't reveal the Shruti at all. I reveal the Smriti. And the reason is because as soon as I have to reveal the Shruti, then I suddenly have to change my clothes. Okay? I have to make sure that the people listening are going to be vegetarian. All right? I have to sit on a pedestal, everybody below, because now it's Vedanga has to be spoken. All right? The people who are listening to me, they have to be vegetarian. They're actually not allowed to eat whilst listening to me. They have to be only drinking water, nothing else, only. All right? So all of these requirements we fulfill in courses. Yeah, sure. Okay? So in an in-person course, then we do that. Then we can say, all right, for these how many days we're together on the course where we're going to be expounding on these shlokas, which are Shruti. Then in that paradigm, we are going to keep a certain level of purity. But expounding on shlokas and sutras online, we have to be a bit more attentive of what we're revealing, because when we do that, the Rishi is being revealed. The Rishi is coming. And the Rishis are very particular about purity. And so the word Dṛṣṭi is bringing us into this focus. All right? What is being revealed? In this, we differentiate between three types of Dṛṣṭi because and I say three types. You say, Visti, but you just said two. No, there are three. There are three types. And these three types of Dṛṣṭi are based on Shakti. Because Dṛṣṭi is the power to influence something.
Yes.
And in physics, we talk about how the empirical study is also influenced by the observer who is studying it. And so there's a relationship between that which is being observed and the observer also. And there's a risk, therefore, that which is being observed is being manipulated by the observer. So that is also Dṛṣṭi. So there is a power of influence. So in all aspects of Dṛṣṭi, it is called Shakti because it's having a power. All right? And in that, when we speak of the rishis again and what was revealed, they are also, that's why we are so particular about the difference between Shruti, what was revealed, and Smriti, what is being spoken of later, because at least in Shruti, we are coming closer to that the source is unadulterated. Okay?
Right.
And in Smriti, suddenly the observer is gaining relevance and could be adjusting that which is being revealed. And therefore, we run into a complication. All right? Hence, Shruti is always considered superior. For again, the same reason. All right?
Right.
Now,
it makes sense.
Indeed. Now, but there are 3 types of Dṛṣṭi, not 2 types of Dṛṣṭi. So there's Shruti, Smriti, but the Dṛṣṭis are 3. Okay?
I am all ears.
I'm glad. And so when we deal with this, then we have to start differentiating between the 3 types of Shakti which underline these Dṛṣṭi actually. They underline them. They are the power behind the Dṛṣṭi. And this differentiates the Dṛṣṭis. Because there are 3 types of Shakti, there are 3 types of Dṛṣṭi. These 3 types of Shakti are called Icha and Jnana and Kriya. There are 3 types. And they belong to Shakti. All three. So Icha means that which is beholden in a desire. Okay? It's a wish, a desire, something you wish to be fulfilled. All right? You could argue that this sounds like Smriti, Visti, because there was a desire behind it. Then there's an emotion behind it as a result. And then there is Jnana Dṛṣṭi. That means that knowledge is coming and there is no filter. There's no filter. It's coming. All right? You cannot decide what you want to see or not want to see. It's coming. You'd better just be ready for it. And as a result of that becomes circumstantial. It is there, so you get it. You know? And then there's one called Kriya. And Kriya refers to action. Now, you're going to say, Visti, this sounds like Icha. Because there was a desire, so because of the desire, there's an action. So are these not connected? Yes, they are. They're absolutely connected. They are. But in Jyotish, we differentiate between having the knowledge to do something and then doing something. So we want to differentiate. But otherwise, Icha and Kriya are closely connected. But then you will argue, Visti, but if I have Gyan, I might also act upon it. So the Kriya is connected to both. In this, we differentiate and call these 3 types of Dṛṣṭi the following. The Icha Shakti is revealed through Graha Dṛṣṭi. Graha Dṛṣṭi. What people commonly call Dṛṣṭi. All right?
Yes.
Okay. Simple Dṛṣṭi. Now, before I open this door, I have to speak about what people do in Western astrology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Because if we don't, then I'm going to get the question anyway. Might as well cover it now. Now, in Vedic astrology, Jyotish, we call it. All right? Although Jyotish will also cover Western astrology principally, but in Vedic astrology, what we do is we are interested in the positions from Magraha. And not all positions are equal. Okay? For example, Mars is interested. It has Icha to look at its 4th and 8th from it. That is its Graha Dṛṣṭi. It is always looking at the 4th and 8th and is not interested in anything else. 4th, 7th and 8th, excuse me. So this is its Graha Dṛṣṭi. Principally, it has more Dṛṣṭi, but there are also some Dṛṣṭis it doesn't have. All right? For example, Mars does not have a 2nd or 12th or 6th Dṛṣṭi or 11th Dṛṣṭi. It does not have. No grahas have. They don't have. Excuse me, one maybe. But it doesn't have. So it does not have Icha for these. It doesn't have desire to look at these. And it doesn't depend on its circumstance. It is always looking at certain houses from it. So it means it's independent of circumstances that it has this Dṛṣṭi. That is called its own wish, its own desire is that. It's dependent on Mars alone, not on any other graha. Jupiter is having itcha and desire to get knowledge from the 5th and 9th houses from it. That's why he is a guru, because he wants knowledge.
Yeah.
So the drishtis are individual to the graha when we call them graha drishti, and being so, they're related to the graha's own wishes and wants. It's not relative to anything else than itself. Okay.
Right.
But in Western astrology, they don't do this. In Western astrology, they speak of grahas which are square to each other, which are in trines to each other.
Sextiles and further on, yeah.
They have all of these various relationship positions from grahas. So are they using drishti actually? They call it aspect, but aspect, is it the same as sight in this context? It's not really. It's not. In Western astrology, what they call aspect is not drishti. It is, in the concept of Vedic astrology, this is called sambandha. And this is exactly how Western astrologers use this principle. They use it as a relationship between planets. That is the accurate way to go about it. These grahas are having this relationship with each other. The square is like this, the trine is like this, okay? Those are relationships, appropriately. They are not drishti. They are not used in the same way, all right? In Vedic astrology, we also call them sambandha. They're used as sambandha. We should do that. When planets are having a certain position with regards to each other, the relation between those planets is as is, based on that relation, that position, mutual position.
Yeah.
It's good to know that. You use that in matching, for example. Are the two people having their moons in quadrants or trines or whatnot to each other? Are there ascendant lords in those positions? Are there moon sign lords in those positions? Are there suns in those positions? You want to see that. It's useful. It's a sambandha. It's a relationship. You want to see how well they'll get along. Drishti is not relevant there. You want to see sambandha. So now he took that and said, hey, in Western astrology, they're not looking at drishti in the same way. At least not in the popular concept of aspects. It is very possible that we have not talked about what some of the Western astrologers do in detail. Maybe some people are using drishti, and they also have aspects. Drishti and aspect, sight and aspect, we could say.
Yeah.
Right? Western astrology that way has a lot of depth to it when we start getting into its classical roots. But we're not going to talk about that today.
Right.
Okay? I cannot justify something I have not studied in detail.
But the point is, one thing is the relationship, the other thing is a drishti, and we sometimes, the Jyotish, use the term special aspects for what you already told about the Mangala, about the Brihaspati and everything else. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So when we teach graha drishti, we will say all grahas have drishti on their 7th house if they have a head. Okay? Since Ketu doesn't have a head, he doesn't have any of those. Okay? That's what we teach. Yes. Rahu is supposed to be the head. Ketu is the body. Without the head, you don't have eyes. What will you see? Okay? So we say Ketu doesn't have any graha drishti and therefore no desire. Because if he had desire, how can he give moksha? How is he moksha karaka? Okay? So that is that detail we're able to bring to forth when we talk about graha drishti.
Applicable logic is there. Yeah.
Indeed. And that gives us 9 grahas, of which 8 have drishti and the 9th Ketu is able to give moksha. And the 8 are the ones with desire who can bind us to this planet. This gives us 8 grahas responsible for our rebirth and the 9th who is getting us out. And those 8 cause bondage, and they are referred to as the Ashta Atma in the Shiv Puran. Because the Ashta Atma are having bondage. Okay?
Yeah.
And there are 8 ways to overcome these bondage or chains, to control these chains. We don't want to break them. We want to control them. Okay? So that this life becomes lovely. And much of remedies is all about making sure that these 8 chains become a little bit loose for us. And they are the 8 grahas from Sun to Rahu. And because of this, Parashara states that some people use 8 charakaraka and some people use 7, because these are the 8 charakaraka for human beings or living beings which are having bondage.
Beautiful.
Okay? That's the concept. It's a very thorough concept, and we can derive this from understanding Graha Dṛṣṭi.
Yeah.
Now, the dilemma is that the Graha Dṛṣṭi of Rahu is not explicitly spoken about. Okay? It is given in certain classics. There it states, Rahu's Graha Dṛṣṭi are so, 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 and so. Some old versions of Parashara they state. And maybe we've talked about Parashara earlier, that there is a Brihat Parashara, there's a Lagu Parashara, and then the big question is, we say there's a Brihat Parashara, which is a statement saying somebody who found all the shlokas of Parashara, but the current English translations don't have the same shlokas as the Hindi translations from now it's almost 100 years ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And some shlokas are there and some are not. And this is a dilemma when we talk about the origins of Parashara and the shlokas which speak about Dṛṣṭi. But this topic of the nodes is always a little bit complicated because the nodes are changing their behavior based on whether the karma that we're dwelling on is Shrishti or Sthiti or Samhara, creation, sustenance, or dissolution. Okay? The nodes are changing their behavior. They even change their exaltation and own signs based on that. And so that's why it's not taught immediately. Okay? We have the grahas who are not changing their behavior, and the nodes are highly changeable, okay, in their behavior.
Very good.
That's why some people call them karmic control planets, because they depend on the karma we're dwelling on. All right? Yes. Are we talking about a conception chart? Then we have to use Shrishti rules, conception charts. Are we talking about a birth chart? Oh, now they're already created, so now we have to sustain them till death. Sthiti. Sthiti rules will apply. What if we are dwelling on their longevity, or that they are now dead and we have to look at their punya chart? Now, nobody comes to me to ask me for their death chart, because then they'd be dead. All right? Yep. And if they did, there'd be ghosts and I wouldn't be able to hear them. Another problem. All right? Correct. And so in such scenarios, the punya chart requires us to consider the nodes from the concept of samhara, dissolution. Then we have those rules for the nodes. Okay?
We go to Shiva.
It would be very useful for me if I can speak to ghosts. So until that happens, that's not relevant. Or maybe somebody who wants to know, my parent or whatnot has passed, it happens. I want to know, how are they doing in the afterlife? Should I do a remedy for their afterlife? Then we use the death chart and we start doing this work with the Samhara chakra. Okay. All right. So now we come back to Dṛṣṭi again, Graha Dṛṣṭi. We made the differentiation. We waded into all of these topics. And then we have to start dwelling on, when do we use this Graha Dṛṣṭi? And so this Graha Dṛṣṭi is used whenever we have to dwell on desire. So basis this, we will say, who is having desires? What desires have to manifest? Are they good or bad desires? First differentiation. Are the desires caused by a benefic or a malefic? And here I say, when I say benefic, malefic, I never speak of the word functional.
Okay.
Never. That word is not part of my Jyotish vocabulary. Functional benefic, functional malefic has been introduced to differentiate between lordships of planets. It does not exist in my Jyotish vocabulary, because my Guruji will never use that word in teaching. Okay? And the reason is simply that a graha, if it is Mars, is malefic, no matter which house he lords. The only difference is whether the malefic behavior is benefiting you or not. That's all it means. Yeah. All right?
Yeah.
If your malefic is your Lagna Lord, it's good for you, but not good for anybody else.
It is still natural malefic, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And then you are Mars torturing other people, or you are Saturn torturing other people, or whatnot, or your mother is Saturn torturing somebody else to protect you. For example, that's the idea. All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the intelligence and focus goes there into that malefic. Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
So we never say functional malefic, benefic. If something is malefic, it's malefic. Now,
indeed,
it's popular at this stage to speak of curses. Okay? People like to look at is one graha aspected by two or more malefics. It, in other words, means, oh, maybe there's some sorrow, Saturn Dṛṣṭi, or some Mars Dṛṣṭi, anger. If these two come together to form a Dṛṣṭi on one graha, there will be sorrow and anger associated with that graha. If it's Venus aspected by Saturn and Mars, you are going to experience sorrow and anger in relationships. And we call that a curse of spouse from last life. You say, what, Visti, last life? Why? What? Last life, spouse, curse? What are we talking about here? Well, see, your birth chart was there at birth. You didn't have those grahas with time. They are there at birth. Okay? So that means whatever is there at birth has already happened before birth.
Idea of karma.
The idea of karma. If we're reading a birth chart, we're reading it to see what baggage or imprint you have before you were born. Because when you were born, you didn't do anything. You're a baby. You couldn't do anything. At most, you could say no to food. That's it. And that even to, so at birth, you didn't do anything yet. All right? You were just born. You had no say. So as a result, we're reading a map of what has happened before you were born. It's like a muhurta for life, but it depends on what was before you were born. And so we're reading past life, actually. In this life, past life impact on this life, excuse me. All right? Then we say, I said, look, Venus is for your experience of relationships. Okay? Seventh from Venus is what's happening to the spouse. First house from Venus is what's happening to you in relationships, because Venus is the karaka for relationships. So there's a whole Shukra chakra, every house from Venus. Now, excuse me. And Dṛṣṭis on Venus itself is your own experience of relationships. Yeah. Is it good? Is it bad? And the malefics aspecting are what emotions are carried on from behaviors in the last life. Okay. Now question. What if Lagna Lord is one of the malefics aspecting, let's say, that Venus? Good question, right?
Indeed.
It means that the difficulty in one's relationship experience could be caused by oneself in this life itself. Because the Lagna Lord has got invited. So that means, now the beauty of this is you have a decision to make. Okay?
How to act upon it, yeah.
Yes, because if you get knowledge that, oh, I am causing my own problem here because that malefic is my Lagna Lord. I am causing this myself. Maybe if I make a decision, if I brood and I dwell and I think about what's going on here and I make a decision, then I can change that curse. I can remove the curse. Because a curse requires two malefics. If there's only one left because you have handled the other, curse is over. Finished.
For instance, very quick question. What about, it's not a malefic being the Lagna Lord, but for instance, Shani being the Atma Karaka aspecting the Shukra?
Good question. The Atma Karaka is not holding Buddhi. When we deal with the self, then there are four aspects of the self. They are, we say that the Atma is in the center. It's a very beautiful analogy. It's so nice when you see this. I would normally draw it. I would draw a dot in the middle, and I'd say this is the soul. Okay? And then around it, I will draw a circle, and this circle is a spinning circle. And at its four spokes, I will draw that there is the manas on one spoke. There'll be four spokes, manas. Then there will be buddhi. So manas is the mind, but actually the word manas here refers to that which is interacting with the senses. Okay? So there's the senses, mind interacting with senses. Then we have the buddhi, which is the intelligence, working intelligence. It has a few aspects to it, but working intelligence. Then there is the chitta, which is consciousness. You could say awareness, but consciousness. Yeah. And then finally, there's the ahankar, which is the ego, but the ego is not a good translation for ahamkar. Ahamkar refers more to, ahamkar has a very good aspect to it, which is not ego. And that is, and some people say, no, that's ego, Visti. But ahamkar is defining who you are. This is very important to define who's what, all right? The problem with the ahamkara is that it also believes certain things belong to it. Okay, my spouse, my mom, my dad, my property. Oops, property. Oh, now we're in big trouble. No, it's my property. No, my property. And then tug of war starts happening.
Yeah.
Okay, my wealth. No, my wealth. It belongs to us. Tug of war stops. It should belong to me. Problem starts. So there are these four aspects of the self. The buddhi is the lagna and lagna lord. And like I said, there are two aspects to the buddhi. All right. In fact, in this, we have to debate whether to just call it the, because there are even more aspects to it.
You mentioned lagna or lagna lord about the buddhi. Lagna.
Yeah. Both.
Yeah, because of the reason the Digbala of Mercury and Brihaspati happening on the lagna. Yeah.
Partly, yes.
Yeah.
Partly, that's a very
yeah.
good reasoning, yes, to define why lagna gets this blessing.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when the manas gives information, okay, you see, the manas are the senses and they're picking up information. It has two aspects of it, also too. There's the knowledge acquiring senses, which are jnana indriya, okay? They're the ones who are listening, seeing, feeling, tasting, smelling, those five senses, okay? They pick up information and they send it to the lagna, to the buddhi. And then the lagna has to decide, okay, do we need to think about this? Or do we just send an information back to the manas again to act, karma indriya? Okay? So the manas has that other aspect, which is karma, to do something, to act on it. Kriya Shakti is over there.
Yeah.
Right? So the mind sends information to the lagna, and the lagna has to decide, are we going to think about it, or are we just sending information back to act on it? And that, if it doesn't think about it, if the lagna doesn't think about it, then it becomes automatic response. Standard response. Lagna can decide, no, we know this, just do this. You do that all the time. Do you think about putting a cup to your mouth and drinking the tea or water? You don't think anymore. You've already done it so many times, you don't have to think about it. So sometimes you make mistakes.
Yeah, and spill everything. Yeah.
Yes, that's because of automated response.
Yes.
Right? The Gyanendriya said, I am thirsty, I'm parched. The karma, it's sent to the lagna. What do? Lagna said, just drink already. Put karmendriya right away, drink. No thinking, no thought. But the lagna can say, no, we have to think about this. Send that information to the lagna lord. And the lagna lord starts brooding. Do we need to think about the way we drink tea or water? Is it because we have to be particular? Am I sure that this information that's coming from my thirst that's coming is really thirst? Is it something else? Did I eat something earlier? Did I have a bag of chips which is making me thirsty? Maybe I shouldn't have had that. That lagna lord is now thinking, processing information. And then it sends a final decision back to the lagna, and then the lagna sends the information back to the manas, to the karmendriya, to do something about it. Or do nothing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is the whole function they're in. That's only two spokes of the wheel. Yeah. They say that the Atma is moving but not moving. That's what it looks like. It's a spoke. It doesn't look like it's moving, but actually everything else is turning around it. That's what it means. Moving but not moving. It looks like it's not moving, but actually it's moving. And what is moving is it's empowering and giving life to those four spokes. And one of them is the ahamkara. And the reason I'm answered that is the atmakaraka. This belongs to me. I am that. Without the ahamkara, I will not be able to say, I should be an astrologer. So the atmakaraka and ahamkara are pivotal to define you. Pivotal to say, I belong here. This group, this family, this is my knowledge base.
Positive traits, yeah.
Which one?
Positive traits of the...
It can be positive.
Yeah,
it can also be negative. All right?
Of the ahamkara, yeah.
Yes. The ahamkara can say, I should not be married. So even if the person marries, then the ahamkara says, yeah, anyway, I knew it wasn't going to work out. So they start ruining their marriage. The ahamkara does this. And this ahamkara is so powerful, it makes you even believe that you don't have an atma. Okay? It's one spoke on the wheel, but it makes everyone else, the manas, the buddhi, the chitta, all of them think, he starts making them all believe that they all belong to the ahamkara, to the atma karaka, actually, and not to the sarvatma, the paramatma.
And it can say, I'm moving this wheel.
Yeah, exactly. It does that. And that's why the atma karaka is so important to read in charts. Can it change karma so easily? Only if you are changing the ahamkara that much. And that's difficult. That's very difficult. Okay? All right. So you spoke about it. So we talked about it.
Yeah. I'm the guilty one. So
fair. And so yes, so we talk about curses in this context. And